Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, my name is Zakia. In this video, I'm going to present my research plan based on the research problem that I have already identified in my previous video. As I mentioned before, my research focused on students' perception of using Medium, the online reading and writing platform, to improve their reading comprehension. And in this video, I will cover three things: my research questions, the method of data collection I plan to use, and who my participant will be. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so the first part is my research questions. But before I get to the questions themselves, I want to explain where they come from, because in research, your questions should come from the gap you find in the existing literature. So let me briefly explain that first. From the 5 articles I reviewed previously, I noticed that while many studies have looked at students' perception of digital reading platforms like Schoology, digital extensive reading programs, and online reading tools in general, none of them specifically examine Medium as the platform, and none of them focus on university-level EFL students in an Indonesian context using Medium for reading comprehension. That gap is exactly where my research comes in. So based on the gap, I came up with 2 research questions. The first one is, what are the perception of English education students at Ar-Raniry Banda Aceh toward using Medium to improve their reading comprehension? This is my main research question. It directly addresses what students think and feel about using Medium, whether they find it useful, engaging, and helpful for developing their reading comprehension. The second question goes a little deeper. It doesn't just ask whether students have positive or negative perceptions. It also tries to understand the specific reasons behind those perceptions. What exactly do they find helpful about Medium, and what difficulties do they face? And I think this is important because it gives a more complete and meaningful picture of the student's experience. Alright, moving on to the second part, the method of data collection. So because my research is about perception, which is something personal and subjective, I decided to use a mixed method approach, combining both quantitative and qualitative data collection. I choose mixed method for a reason. The quantitative part will help me measure how positive or negative the students' perception are in numbers, and the qualitative part will help me understand why they feel that way in their own words. Together, these two give a richer and more complete picture of the students' perception. For the instruments, I will use 2 things. The first is a Likert scale questionnaire. I will distribute this through Google Form to make it easy and accessible for the participant. The questionnaire will contain statements about students' experience using Medium, and students will respond on a scale of 1 to 5, from strongly disagree to strongly agree. This is the quantitative part, and it will give me data that I can calculate and analyze statistically. The second instrument is a semi-structured interview. After collecting the questionnaire data, I'll conduct interviews with a smaller group of participants to get deeper and more detailed responses. The interview will follow up on interesting or unclear points from the questionnaire. So the 2 instruments actually complement each other very well. I chose this combination because, as we saw in the articles I reviewed, particularly Manalu and Rajabi studies on student perception commonly use questionnaire and interviews together, and it has proven to be effective for this type of research. And the third and final part, my participant. The participant of this study will be English education students at Ar-Raniry Banda Aceh. I choose English education students specifically because reading comprehension is a core skill in their program, and they are the group most likely to engage meaningfully with an English reading platform like Medium. I also choose Ar-Raniry because it is the most accessible research setting for me, which makes the study more practical and manageable to conduct. Since Medium is not yet widely used as a formal learning tool in this context, the participant will first be introduced to Medium and given time to use it for reading activities. After that experience, their perception will be collected, so the data will be based on real first-hand experience with the platform. In terms of the number of participants, for the questionnaire, I plan to involve 30 students. This number meets the minimum requirement for quantitative data analysis, and it also realistic and manageable for a study at this scale. Now, the questionnaire itself will have two parts. The first part is the Likert scale statements, which is the main quantitative data. And at the end of the questionnaire, I will also include one or two open-ended questions asking students to share their overall experience using Medium in their own words. This open-ended section serves two purposes. It gives me additional qualitative data, and it also helps me identify which students would be good candidates for the follow-up interviews. From those 30 students, I will then select 6 students for the semi-structured interview. The 6 will be chosen purposefully based on the richness and depth of their responses in the open-ended section of the questionnaire. I will look for students who gave detailed and thoughtful answer and who also represent a diverse range of perspective, some more positive, some more challenging, so that the interview data is balanced and meaningful. So that's my research plan for this study. To briefly summarize, my research questions are based on the gap I found from the existing literature, focusing specifically on Medium as a platform that hasn't been widely studied in the EFI reading context. To answer those questions, I will use a mixed method approach with a Likert scale questionnaire and semi-structured interviews, involving 30 English education students at Ar-Raniry Banda Aceh. I believe this plan will be well suited to explore a student's perception in a thorough and meaningful way. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.